Okay, this is the life changing series which we've been waiting for. You just have to relax and expect a life changing lectures which I think or which I believe or which I have planned that maybe every week or every month or every two weeks I'll be releasing a series, so you don't need to rush about it. So I titled it the major 5 pieces of life puzzles that can change your life positively. That's the topic. I want to talk about myself, my passion. My passion is to be able to impact life positively. When I was in university, the time is 4:23 a.m. in Nigeria, and I think it's a quiet time in Nigeria, so I've decided to shoot this video. And maybe that time is when I'll be using to shoot subsequent videos. When I was in university in Nigeria, that was far back, 1999, 2000. I went to class one night to read, and in the course of reading, I was reading accounting. The course was a bit difficult for me to understand, and I kept reading. Later, the whole thing started making meaning, started making sense, and I changed the formula. I was able to get the same answer as the one that was in the textbook. So I changed the formula, I tried it again, and it was the same answer. Wow, I told myself, was this thing that simple that I didn't get it initially, or what pattern was it that was making it look difficult? So I made the resolve that anything I know, I should be able to explain to another person easier than the conventional way it was written, once I understand that. So that was how I started giving tutorials in the university, and it's my passion to actually teach people to make things easier. Then I mentioned Ben within university concepts. Yes, you might be wondering, what does that mean? Yeah, it's a family name. My son's name is Ben, and what is a university? University is about bringing knowledge to people. It doesn't have to be registered with NUC or registered with NUC. Google is a university. Facebook is a university. Anywhere you source knowledge is a university. So Benkasi is a university. So don't even get it twisted. My name is Dr. Sam, and I'm from Nigeria. I'll tell you a little bit about me. From a family of 6, we were 6, 4 boys, 2 girls, and we are now 5. We lost our eldest brother in 2010, yes. I'll talk about that later in other series, not this time around. Then my mom survived with us. She lost her husband a few months after my death, just few months. So she was the one who actually brought everybody up, But this year, January 24th, she has gone to be with her maker, But there's no separation. We still communicate through all the legacies and all the things he has taught us. They are all what has brought us up. So why the topic? Why the topic? Because this is one single topic that has really made impact in my life, and I believe by the time you go through the series, you'll be able to change, your life will change. Change can take place instantaneously, change can also take place gradually. So whatever change you experience is part of the change. So I titled it The 5 Major Pieces of Life Puzzles That Can Change Your Life Positively. And the first one is, I call it your philosophy. How to become a better you. So it's something you really want to know. What's it talking about? What is philosophy? Yeah, because we're going to be having several series in form of Zoom, form of webinar, in form of maybe audio. Then we're going to be using YouTube. We're going to be using Facebook, maybe WhatsApp. So it's really going to come in series and in module. So it's not something you really rush about. I will take my time to explain the 5 puzzles, that can change your life positively. Like I said, the first one is your philosophy. Yeah, you can also title say philosophy, but your philosophy, it is your philosophy. You have to own it. And what is philosophy? Philosophy, simply put, are the things you know. The things you know. And how do you know the things you know? That's philosophy. The things you know. As we speak, I will do today is Saturday. You are in your country. Certain things are for advantage, some things are your disadvantage. You have a government. There are things that are easy for you to do. There are things that are a bit difficult for you to do. There are things you have fears, and there are things you just have your way through it. Why have you become who you are? All these are your philosophies because of what you know. And that's what you know can be a strength and can also be a weakness. But the aim of this training, of this teaching, is that for everything you know to be a strength to you. And for you to know more, that will be your strength. And for you to know more, that will weaken your weaknesses and you become a better person. I give you an instance. In 2003, when I was a youth service, when I was a corper, that was youth service, I did it in Lagos. Towards the end of our youth service, the Savannah Bank, the front Savannah Bank invited us for a test in their head office in Broad Street. And on my way going, no friend, no phone. We use the lift. They have a lift, elevator. They use a lift. And on the top floor, there was a lift jammed. The first time in my life, entire life. I just came from the village maybe 1 week before that time, because I deployed from Imo State. I'll talk about those details later. Now, but what did I know? The only time I've seen a lift is in the television, maybe through the movie. Then the only other time I've seen, the worst or the maximum I've seen was a duplex in my village, which was owned by the father of Fidelis Aikhuomogbe, the one-time governor of River State, and the Reverend Gio Aikhuomogbe, who was one time a general superintendent of Assemblies of God Church. They were uncle to my mom. My mom is from their family, but married to my dad, so we don't bear Aikhuomogbe, we bear Aikhuomogbe. So, for me, it was like a trap. It was like a death warrant. And I was really, really scared. You know, the first time in my life to experience a lift jam outside seeing it or watching it in a movie. And I was really scared, like I said. Then, two ladies were inside the lift. One was squatting and one was standing. Now, because the one that was squatting was crying and was shouting, "Oh, I'm dying, please, someone should help us," I couldn't look at her, because if I look at her, I would faint. Because she was dying, me, I was dead, you know. And I just heard myself, and I was speaking with the one that was standing. Like, I've seen her before, written several tests before. I was just familiarizing myself with her, like, you came here to write a test, blah. So immediately I was trying to go further. The engineer came in to salvage the situation and opened the lift. I jumped out, you know. I didn't even bother talking to her again, because that was not the end. It was just to get myself together. And after the engineer just did one or two things, he said, "You guys should go back, that is okay." And I said, is what? Is okay? I said, "Is there no staircase?" He said, "The staircase is here, but we are going to 14th floor. I said, "Is it our Babe?" He laughed and he said, "No, it's 14th floor." I said, "I will use the staircase." Guess I used the staircase actually. No. When I got to the 14th floor, I was sweating. You know. But unfortunately, the test did not hold any gain. And because that was the period Savannah Bank were having issues with the CBN, something like that. And I still met the lady upstairs that I was talking to in the lift. As things will have it, she's the woman I married eventually. She's my wife now. But the first story I want to get is that, why was I scared? Why was I shivering? Because I've never seen an elevator before. I've never seen a lift of that capacity before. I came from the village, and the best I have seen was a 2-story building. So that was my philosophy. That was what I knew, you know. So, but today I use lifts. I have seen different kinds of lifts, you know, and that was what I know that time, you know. So I will tell you about some of the philosophers that had some philosophy that we also know. I talked about Aristotle. Aristotle said, and I quote, "We are what we repeatedly do." Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, I don't know. Aristotle also said, "Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." Then Socrates said something that's interesting. He said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." An unexamined life is not worth living. Then he said, "One thing only I know, and that is that I know nothing." Maybe. Then Plato, "There's no harm in repeating a good thing." He said, "There's no harm in repeating a good thing." Those were their philosophy. Those were what they said. Now we have what we call the philosophy of the poor and the philosophy of the rich. It's not constant, but that's what made them poor, and that what made them rich. Now for the poor spend first and save what is remaining, while the rich save first and spend what is remaining. That's what made them poor and rich. So there's no one person who says this person is poor or this person is rich. No. What defines them is their philosophy. Like I said, the poor will spend first and save what is remaining, while the rich will save first and spend what is remaining. Now, what's the dynamics? The dynamics is what to do first is what to do best. So why would the poor spend first? Who sold to him that philosophy? Nobody knows. That is how he thinks. He's trying to create value. That's what gives him value. But the end result is that he's poor. The end result for the rich is rich. So what's the difference? That is some of what I'll be talking about this morning. And in the end, we have what we say: the rich get richer, and the poor gets poorer. If you want to solve that puzzle, what do you become? What do? You become the rich, because the rich get richer, and the poor get poorer. So to unveil or to solve that puzzle, you just become the rich, so you get richer. Not becoming the poor. You just become. That information is an information. It's not saying this person become. It's just an information. What do you do with it? You take advantage. You become the rich. You do what the rich does. You study the rich. You read about the rich. You meet the rich. They mentor you. You meet the rich. They will mentor you. You do what the rich do. You read the books the rich reads. You go to the occasion where the rich goes to. You do the activity. You read the courses the rich reads. But if you want to be the poor, it's simple. You also do nothing what the rich does, and you have the results. It's very, very simple. The moment you begin to know all these things, your life will begin to change. Your life will begin to change. A man leaves home in the morning and trying to bring daily bread, daily living for his family, because he's trying to look for value. Another man decides to stay to catch enough sleep, also thinking that's a value. But the end results define who they both are. One has a happy home, the other one is complaining, thinking the government should change, thinking the economy should change, thinking there shouldn't be inflation. It should be the one to change, not the economy. So your philosophy is your country. Your philosophy is your word. Your philosophy is everything about you. Now, how does that word become your word? It's you that created your word. The things you know, the things you think, the things you hear, and the things you conceive. Think of a man who goes out in the morning, his club plays match, maybe in the evening, and lost. The next morning he picks a newspaper, and all they are talking about is maybe Fulani herdsmen, Boko Haram, the president increasing the fuel subsidy, increasing the price of fuel, removal of fuel subsidy, that kind of news. You can already detect how the day of that person will look like. So that also defines the man, and those are what I call the philosophy. How does change happen to a man? Change can happen by desperation, and change can happen by inspiration. Change can happen by desperation. Maybe you fail a project, you now tell yourself, this day is the day I will never forget in my life. I will never fail again, and you decide to do the opposite of what made you fail. By inspiration is taking advantage of and planning the future. You are inspired by successful people. You are inspired by a speech. You are inspired by reading a book. You are inspired by seeing positive things around you. So you begin to learn all those things. Now, I talked about philosophy that is the bane, is the main, is the first of the 5 pieces. I said the major factor in determining how our life turns out is the way we choose to think. Underline the word choose to think. Now there's a saying that all life forms strive to their maximum except for human beings. I mentioned this to my wife, I think 3 days ago, and she asked me why. I was so excited about that question, why. All life forms strive to their maximum, except for human being. How tall will the tree grow to its maximum? If you don't kill that cow or that goat during the Christmas, chances are it still keep growing to its maximum. It will maximize its potentials. But what about human being? The choice we make are the limitations. The choice we make are the limitations. For instance, you are a bank manager in Nigeria, you are doing well, you are successful, then you decide to go to maybe Germany, decide to go to maybe Italy, decide to go to UK, you go to America. That's your choice. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm not saying it's right, but that's your choice. It means you are no longer in Nigeria as a bank manager. Now, what happens if you get to the United Kingdom, you get to the other country, you can't really fit into the economy the way you fit into your first country. What it means is that you will not maximize yourself. Maybe you just be, you'll be there maybe looking for paper, maybe you're an immigrant, trying to get paper for 5 years, because that is what you want to do. So that is your philosophy. Choice that you made at that particular point in time just determines what you become. What if it turns around that you get there and you become a senator in that country? It's also a choice. So you maximize it to that extent. So it means you keep maximizing it. It doesn't mean human being does not maximize, but because of that element of choice, human beings are always confronted with different options. Different options. You are reading mass comm. Were you supposed to read engineering? You are reading engineering. You're supposed to read agri. We are always confronted with the element of choice, which sometimes make us maximize our potentials and sometimes become also our limits. Philosophies are things we hear, things we read, things we see. These are the things that form what we become. Our philosophy then influence our habit and behavior. Your personal philosophy comes from what we know, what you know, and from the process of how we came to know all that we currently know. How do we know them? Maybe school, friends, association, media, influence, church, the books you read, your mosque, your country, your state, through gossip, rumor, newspaper. Those are the things that you are. That is what forms you. When you are scared, when you are bold, when you can make a speech, when you cannot make a speech, when you can propose to a woman, when you cannot propose to a woman. These are what you have become. How do you maximize what you have become? Those are some things we're going to be talking about. I said, personal philosophy is like the set of the sail. Now, the set of the sail is your thinking. That's the set of the sail. The philosophy here is like your thinking. That's why I said it's like the set of the sail. Now, the winds that blow us all. The winds of recession, the winds of Boko Haram, the winds of insurgency, the wind of fuel hike, the winds of inflation, the winds of coronavirus, the same, blow us all. But the destination is not being determined by the wind. It's being determined by the set of the sail. In the process of going, the wind will blow and change the course. You have to consciously bring the journey back to its destination. How do you do that? Through your philosophy, through your thinking pattern. So it's it's determined, is a predetermined effort. You don't leave it to chances. You don't say, oh, 2020 is a year of coronavirus. No, the children will resume school, you pay school fees. The wife will demand for feeding, you go to market, you buy clothes, So how do you survive despite the coronavirus, despite the health hazard, despite the fact that you can't even travel during that period? It's like the set of the sail. So you set the sail to the destination. The arrival point is not determined by COVID-19. Rather, your philosophy, your planning, your thinking, and your focus. And we are all in the same sea of life. The same government, the same currency, but the difference in arrival is not determined by the wind. It's determined by your philosophy. What differentiates the destination is how we set the sail. The way that each of us think make the major difference in where each of us has arrived. I talk about when the wind change. Yes, I mentioned it, that we must change. We must struggle, get up, and set the sail to that direction. So I also mentioned how to develop a powerful personal philosophy. What and how you think. The only way to eliminate our past errors, conclusion, is to review, to refine what we think we have known before. Then you have to have new information. You have to have new information. Like I mentioned before, in that lift, I didn't know about 14th floor. But the day I got to 14th floor, that was a new information for me. So anytime I'm doing a lift of 6th floor, 7th floor, 14th floor, 20th floor, I just use the same pattern, the same model of doing the 14, Though the first time was staircase, but I knew that it's going to get to 14, and that helps me, And even you, the first time you did everything, you have to learn from inside. So what are the new things? You get new information for personal experience, your own personal experience when you failed in a particular course, the first time you flew an aircraft, from personal experience, you made friends, the first time they gave you this key in a hotel where you just flip and you enter rather than the normal key you are used to. Those things change and shape your life. You learn from an outside voice. Like I'm teaching now, you're learning new things. You're listening to television, you're learning new things. You listen to radio, you're learning new things. You learn from other people's experience, maybe people who have failed. You also learn from people who have succeeded. Then you capitalize on the power of positive influence. People that can influence you positively. I was doing my PhD. I didn't have money. Of course, I didn't have the money. I was to pay 150,000 naira, 150,000 naira a month, and my salary at that time was 62,000 naira. How do you start a program with 157,000 with 62,000? It's not possible. I met two guys, and these two guys happen to be pastors. They are good guys, still good guys, they are still my friends. One of them said, man, you can't do it because your salary is obviously lower than the school fees. Was it true? Of course. The other person said, you can do it. Is the school fees greater than your board? That changed my whole life. I said, no, of course, how can the school fees be greater than board? So they started, and I started it. In the end, after 3 years, I paid about 70,000 US dollar, and my salary never really grew from that time till when I finished to more than 250,000 naira. But because he was able to change my philosophy, of what I know. He made me to understand that a school fees cannot be greater than God. That's a change in philosophy. The other one told me my salary cannot pay the school fees because the salary was lower than the school fees. It's also true, but like I said, your philosophy are things you know. Now, the things you know can make you, and the things you know can also buy you. You know, so that's where it's become interesting. Like now, as I'm talking to you now, maybe you don't have any bank account, like you don't have any savings. You are messed up. Let me just be blunt with you. You are messed up. How do you change that? How do you start saving? If you want to think about it, your salary is too small for you to even earn a living, not to talk of saving. So it's not possible. But it's possible. What do you need to change? Your philosophy. You need to change your mindset. You need to change your friends. You need to change what you believe. You know, it just can change overnight. Like I said, you can learn from experience, from the failed people, from the successful people, from me that's talking, you know, people to influence you. Then you become a good observer. You know, you need to learn, observer. Like you have a presentation to make. How do you prepare for it? Like when I was in school, I used to read during the day. And anytime I'm reading in my room because I was in a hostel, the other side, the room, my neighbor, either they will be cooking beans, they will be making noise, everywhere will be rowdy. Even when we try to, because it was GC board arrangement, we try to knock and say they should keep quiet, nobody will listen to you. But in the night, everyone will be quiet. So one day I went out to fetch water because I think there was scarcity that period. Everyone was dead quiet, like a mortuary. I said, wow. Why? Why is everywhere quiet? Where are those guys that used to make noise? They were sleeping and snoring. I said, wow, this is the right time to read. You know, I now change this pattern. In the daytime, if I'm not busy, I'll be sleeping. Then in the night, I'll wake up. Sometimes I'll wake up, I'll go outside, I'll try to knock people's door to like, come and disturb. But they're sleeping. You know, as soon as I got that formula, I said, wow, this is the way it should go. So since then, that's changed. So in the night is when I work. At daytime, I just do the by force work, maybe office work, you know, family work. But personal work, I do them in the night. Because everywhere, everybody's quiet, everybody's sleeping naturally, you know, walking against nature this time around. And that became a strength. You know, that became a strength. I do mentoring in the night. What if you want to have a university that operates in the night? Which is this university, Benkasi University. We will operate in the night. Our students, we will talk to them in the night. We will teach them in the night. You know, you don't need to register to NUC. I've told you that before. Don't even think about NUC or Minister. Though this is duly registered. It's my wife's stuff. Duly registered with CAC. But NUC, don't even think about that. Because the scope is beyond NUC. NUC can handle Benkasi. The scope is beyond NUC because those in the US, those in other countries can, when we are doing webinar, is it global? Because we need to change the way people think. We need to be able to assist people, you know. Now, another thing is be a good listener. Be a good listener. Listen. When you listen, you'll be able to get meaning quick. Don't rush into talking. No, you only talk the little of what you listen to. Your content. You need to enrich your content to be able to dish out those things. Then I say read books. Wow. Read books. When you want to overtake your generation, you have to start reading books. You know, because those hidden truths are in the book. In 2017, January, I read a book. a one-time, 1-minute millionaire. In that book, they said that if your salary is paid 12 days in 365 days, that you are in recession. Do you know what that means? January, one salary, February, one salary, March, April, May, that's 12 days. He said if you are paid 12 days in 365 days, you are in recession. You don't need your country to be in recession, you are in recession. You have to work minimum 200 days. You have to be paid minimum 200 days in a year. Then you are talking. Wow, that changed, that revolutionized my entire life that year. What did I do? Manually, I gave a diary I got from my wife to my daughter. I told her to write out the whole dates of that year, which she did from January to December. So each day in that year, I get any salary or any income, I'll write it down. I try to do it with hard copy. But guess what? These days, I didn't even need to bother my daughter. I have an Excel, which I started 2018. I have it for 2019. This is 2020. I can tell you my income from January to this is October. Now, if my per annum, for instance, for my work, let's say 7 million, let's say 10 million, let's say 5 million, that's my per annum for my work. But what is my income as at now? Is it under my per annum? Because you need to get to the year to get to your per annum minus the tax. Your income should have beat your per annum by 5. If you are not even doing well, but let's even manage it at that point. But what even give you that prerogative to even think it's possible? Because you read it in the book. You read it in the book. I read one recently, The Fifth Discipline by Senge. He said idea is 1%. Execution is 99%. I said, that means idea is just like a child cannot throw you an idea. Anybody can give you an idea. But executing it is 99%. So what does that mean? Take all the energy to execution. That's what it is. Not idea. Anybody can give you an idea. Everything is idea. But execution is 99%. That's when you put your energy. How do you know those things? Who will teach you those things? Which university will teach you those things? Conventional university? No. But when you want to change your life, you want to know about your philosophy, you read books. You read books on health, you read books on words, you read books on family, you read books on philosophy, on the relationship, you read books on any topic that you think that is next to know. You read everything up. But the irony from research, only 3% of a country's population has a library card. Only 3%. What an irony. Like PVC, library card, only 3% of the population has it. So thank God for internet, thank God for Google. Maybe the people that read are definitely more than 3%, but we'll try to make sure if you are in this university, we'll try to support you. We'll do reading management. We give you books. We also manage that you will follow up that you read those books, maybe through assignments or discussions and stuff. So the difference between somebody who cannot read and somebody who do not read, there's no much difference. They have the same problem. The same problem they have? Ignorance. The same. That is it. Then another way to develop your philosophy is by keeping journal. When you're going out, when you meet somebody, when you just leave in the restroom, ideas flow. You write them down. You keep those ideas. Man is actually more than a birth certificate. Man is more than a grave stone. Man is more than the family pictures that you see on the wall. A lot of people live, they don't have their testimony, their testaments, their stories. They just describe them. What do you think happened when we say Old Testament, New Testament, the book of Moses, the book of... They were written down. They were written down. They were written down. Let me tell you why I know they were written down. When the people of Israel went to Egypt during the famine, during the time of Joseph. Good. I might not know the verse, but I know the story, and the story works for me. Now, after the death of Joseph, the people, the children of Israel were in Goshen. It took them, some say, for 430 years, some say 400 years, because there was a reference to say